I think one thing as well is like a really unknown thing is that I think a lot of us, we want our hair to be really, really long. Like if you look at the side here, you could see that it has like 1A to 4D. I didn't know whether it was 4D. I thought it stopped at 4C, I'm not going to lie. But there's a 4D. And I mean, with the 1A to 3, you can see like all the hairs are really long. And I mean, society has made it seem like they're really luxurious, really um really important, not really important, but they're the better hair texture, I guess, which is not true. I mean, they're beautiful, of course, but I think all hair textures are beautiful as long as they're healthy. And the 4A to 4D, give me a second, come in. The 4A to 4D, you can see them, they look quite short, but however, the texture doesn't affect the length of hair. I think that's one thing that everyone keeps forgetting, that like you can have 4D hair, but your hair can be longer than someone who has 2A. It's really just about shrinkage in the coils. So, I mean, when people say, oh, you have good hair, what do they mean by that? What does everyone think about that? Anyone can answer. Like when someone says, oh my gosh, you have really good hair, what does good hair and bad hair mean? I mean, anyone can answer?
I think good
Um,
hair. Oh, never mind. You go.
Sorry, I was gonna say when I think about it, when people say good hair to me, I kind of interpret it as not to me, but in general to anyone. I interpret it as you have hair that's easy to maintain.
Yeah.
That's all.
Sorry. Yeah, agreed. I just had to let someone in.
I think good hair as well implies hair that um is leans more towards European standard of hair texture. So the better the hair, the closer it is to looser those looser kind of patterns, because they deem it as more tameable and more less, you know, um less out there, or whatever everyone wants to put it. So I think it implies more calmness and more femininity for women, whereas horsey hair um connotes rebelliousness, not fitting status quo, all those type of things.
Agreed. Anyone else? Anything else?
Funny enough, I associate good hair like with one of my friends. She has such like long natural hair, but it's not in the sense that it looks European. It's more, you can tell it's a fro. But I think for me, maybe it's just the sense my hair's short anyway, and I've always struggled to grow my hair. If I see anyone with longer hair, I always think it's good hair. So I feel like that maybe is just like a personal definition with yeah, good hair for me.
Yeah. And I think that can be the same for a lot of people. I could say for me, there's never been a point in my life where I've hated my hair. But as Jamake has said, when I see certain people with, long hair or like the threes hair, I'm like, oh my gosh, she has really good hair. But as I said, what does good hair mean? It just means good hair is literally just your hair is healthy. I think as Koyin, I think you said that about healthy hair. That's what good hair is not about, the fact that you have one or three or four hair. It's literally how healthy is your hair, how, how nice does it look to you. And I think one thing I would say specifically about hair that we have to like try and learn to do is to love our hair and just to love how it comes and how it is and how we can, wear it out. Because at the end of the day, like you may have 4C, 4B, 4A, 1A, 3A. Like you can style, there's so many different ways to style your hair, which I worked out during the holidays because, we had a lot of time and I wasn't going to make my hair because I wasn't going to see anyone. So that's one thing. But I think another important thing that we have to do is I think we have to identify why we dislike our own hairs. Like, because obviously you identify the problem to find the solution. Do you understand what I mean? So like I would say I can start. One of the reasons I hate my hair is because it doesn't take up oils. It doesn't get like, soft as most people's do, especially this one next to me who has really soft hair. My head doesn't like, it doesn't take up oils like that. So that's one thing I really dislike about my hair. Does anyone have anything? You don't have to share if you don't want to.
I'll say generally, I think a lot of black women in particular have been gaslighted to perceive our hair as unprofessional, wild, whatever. Because even I was watching a video earlier where this guy pointed out that when you go to like a lot of shops, a lot of the advertisement of white and mixed people, their hair is like really nice and long, but whenever there's like a black woman or dark skinned woman, her hair's always short or like she's like bald. So I'm like, why is that? Like, what is the perception of our hair that makes it seem that every advertisement in shops or on websites and stuff like that, our hair has to be short? Or why can't our hair just be long like theirs, or like our natural state of hair? Do you get what I mean? So yeah, that's one thing I saw.
That's really clever, because I'm just thinking back to all the Garnier and Pantene ads I've watched in the past, and I'd never even thought, because I'm thinking back and all the hair is short, tiny. That's mad.
Literally every single shop that they pointed out, like H&M, what is it, Yours, all of those shops, all the women's hair like shaved, the dark skinned women, and I'm confused as to why they advertise us like that. Or like we know why they advertise us like that, because of their perception of us, but I feel like I don't know how we could change that element.
Yeah, I was gonna say, basically, I remember when I was younger, there was like a Head and Shoulders like bottle, and it said that it literally said at the bottom for normal hair, and obviously Head and Shoulders isn't for like our hair textures. And I remember like asking my mum like, why does it say for normal hair? So I feel like we've been like kind of like gaslighted to believe that our hair just isn't natural, which maybe contributes to why people like start hating their hair, which just isn't, it's just not right, basically. Yeah,
I find that quite interesting, this idea of normal, because a lot of like hair companies like to put normal hair, and then they will distinguish between normal hair and different types of hair, and that kind of creates this impression that white hair is normal, or like long straight hair or whatever is the normal like hair type, and that kind of sets the standard. Do you know what I mean? So then when you have like 4C, 3 type 4, type 3 textured hair, your hair isn't normal, but that's not the case, because there isn't a kind of normal hair type. And I agree with what you're saying in the sense of like, you know, they gaslight you into thinking your hair is abnormal, like it's weird, and then it makes you feel like, you know, I feel like that kind of adds to the sense of, you know, people hating their hair because you think it's not normal. Of course, like especially when you're little, and then someone's going through your hair, your mum or whatever, and it hurts and all of that, and then you're thinking in your head, oh my god, my hair's not normal. I feel like that adds to it. And yeah, I just wanted to say, this idea of normality, that really kind of messes with you as a child, doesn't it? I think it all goes back to colonialism and racism, because if we think about it now, nothing is normal at all. There's no normal human. There's no, obviously we don't like normal, but nothing is normal at all. And it goes back to racism and what the white man back in the 1600s created as the base, the standard, which is really crazy and sad at the same time. And it's good that we're having these, it's a great time to be alive now, that we're able to talk about these issues and dismantle it and pick it apart. So yeah,
I think oh, sorry, who's talking?
Sorry. And yeah, I just wanted to say as well, just like growing up and like when you like see kids on like TV, like the majority of the kids are white and they have like the more 1A to like 2B type texture hair. And then if you do see like a black girl, then maybe her hair's in braids, and you don't really see like 4C hair types at all really in like the media. So I feel like it's just like growing up and having that normalization of more like white hair, and then the white girls would be the ones who are classified as like desirable. It would be the white girls who you kind of be forced to identify with when there's like girls or things like that in like a TV show or something like that. And like it's just like, or like say if there's one black character on the TV show, then their hair's like you described, like it's really short, or like then maybe like more looser hair type, and they're not representing your type of hair. So therefore I feel like it's harder like when you're growing up to try to like have kind of like that positive representation of like different hair textures.
I just wanted to say that sorry, following on your point about like can you hear me? Sorry. Yeah, following on your point about like TV shows and stuff, have you noticed that every single time it's like a black family, the daughter is always looking mixed race as hell? She's never black. She's never black. So it's just like, It's like when you have kids, they get lighter than you, but it's really stupid because it's like, that's not what, they never show like, even dark-skinned girls, but even like just black people, how they're meant to be. Do you know what I mean? They must always be whitened somehow. They must have like light eyes, or, you know, just something that doesn't make them look standard. And it's just like, when you see that all the time, especially growing up, especially if you have like maybe a lot of white people or mixed people around you, it's just like, do I look wrong, or that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not really nice at all. But yeah.
I think, yeah, what I was also going to add to that as well is, like, for a lot of us who are on TikTok, and you know, there was that whole period of them loving black girls, like, my type is black girls, da 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 da.
Yes, they're begging.
Yeah, and they do all the pictures and the videos of black girls, but like, and you're like, she looks like me, but she doesn't look like me, because even though she could be dark skinned, and there were some of them, obviously they like dark skin, but she'd have like a wig on that was like really long and really blonde, or she'd have like, I don't know, really light eyes somehow, and you just be like, okay, she like genuinely, she looks like me, so I'm a little bit like, oh, maybe he does like black girls, but she doesn't look like me, because at the end of the day, he still likes all of these features that I genetically can't have. You understand? Like, does he like the black skin, or does he like her because she is black and she has, you know, she looks really good with wigs? Do you understand? It's kind of like those things that's really difficult to get your head around. And I really hate it, you know, thinking about, oh my God, does this guy like black girls? I really, really hate thinking that. But
that whole thought of distinguishing us is just like, oh, anyway, but that's for later.
Yeah.
But also, I just wanted to bring up the point of like, the media is so important in how we view our hair. And then because of the media, people have their own perception of us that makes us think, oh, am I wrong, or like this? Because growing up, a lot of people genuinely didn't see a lot of natural black hair, like 4C hair in media or whatever. So then people have the perception, oh, black people always have, or black women always have this sort of hair. So when they see black women who don't have that sort of hair, then their perception is skewed, and then they act differently. Cause them to act differently, if that makes sense. But yeah,
that's leading on your point about the media. Sorry, I don't know if you're done. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Leading on your point about the media, I think there's this show that I don't know if some of us watched it back when we were girls, called The Winx Club. And where the black fairy, her hair turned into a massive afro, like that picture we're seeing right now. And I remember what is going on? She was crying. I said, my hair looks horrible. They're like, your hair looks terrible, Lola. Whatever.
They were laughing as well. And it's like, when you're a child, you see stuff like that.
It's a bit traumatic.
And you internalize those messages. You think, oh, they're laughing at her because her hair turned into an afro. So does that mean my afro too is laughable? Like, my afro is bad? And then what are you supposed to do then? Because it grows from your head. Are you supposed to just like hate what goes from your head because some cartoon told you to hate it?
I don't know whether it's just out of ignorance, because the show is an Italian production, and we know Italian people sometimes can be quite racist and ignorant, some of them. So maybe it was that thing, but the fact that they represented an afro as being unkempt, horrible, and not attractive it sends a disgusting message to young black girls. And it makes a lot of us, as we grow up and become young women, insecure about our hair. And we shouldn't. They should be celebrating that hair. But unfortunately, it was a time where black hair was not celebrated. So I think they just need better PR people. And even if the PR people are white, these white people need to be educated on our hair.
Yeah, I think when Favour was talking about what we dislike about our hair, I think one of the main things why people dislike their hair is because they don't know how to maintain it. But I don't think you can blame us at the same time, because now you're seeing like more people do research about like porosity or whatever it's called, and now we're starting to maintain our hair. We like it better, but before there wasn't much information, so it was like if your hair was difficult, you relaxed it, or you cut it off, or you just left it in braids.
Yeah, I agree. I think like as well, like even when it's like comes to going to interviews and stuff, we always try to like kind of change our hair. Like we wouldn't go to an interview with like an afro. We're gonna try and find a way to maybe like slick it down, like add in like a straight hair piece or something. Even not necessarily because we hate our hair, but we feel like we'll be probably more accepted or probably more likely to advance in the selection process if we look a bit more like others.
Agreed, yeah. That's actually what I did the other day, really, when I had to go to my job. It says no, you know, it tells you to keep your hair. There's a certain way they word it. It's like keep your hair like neat and tidy and stuff. I literally put my afro in the tightest bun at the top of my head and then went. And when I got there was another girl there who had her hair out in her afro. And I really looked at her and I was like, oh, I wish I did that. Like, but it's so like subtle that you don't realize you're doing it until you see someone else not doing it, or you actually like, oh, why did I do that? Do you understand? So I agree. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of problems with institutions as well, like schools not accommodating their dress, not accommodating black hair into their uniform code. Because I know a lot of schools, especially schools in white areas, where they'll see a black person with their hair out, they'll tell them, sorry, you're gonna have to tie this up because it's not suitable. But they don't realize that it takes ages for us to tie up our hair. Then they'll put us in detention, put us in seclusion because of our hair. And it's really, I don't understand the logic behind that, but it's something that needs to be spoken about more in these kind of, not only jobs, but schools, universities, and just be a bit more inclusive. Because it can cause us to start relaxing our hair and all this sort of stuff just to fit their own perception of what normal hair is. And they need to be educated that this is normal. There's all sorts of normal hair. You just need to be able to make sure your policies don't discriminate against us and break down our self-esteem, because schools are meant to uplift their students. That's not uplifting us at all in the slightest. And
yeah, it's very interesting that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that it's very interesting that you mentioned schools, because my secondary school was quite racist. Even like a lot of black girls, whenever they tried to switch up their hairstyle, not even having their natural hair out, but having their hair in braids, and they try to switch it up, like use a different colored braids, the school would frown upon that. So it was like only black braids are acceptable because that's a natural hair color. But whenever a white girl came to school with like dyed blonde hair, or I mean, blonde hair is still a natural hair color, but black girls weren't allowed to wear blonde braids to school, or brown braids to school. Always has to be black braids. So I don't know. I just thought that was very, I mean, it was just very questionable.
Actually, it was really funny because when I went to my school about that, because they always told my sister off for it, and it really made me angry, because they would literally be girls who'd go from, you know, pitch black hair to like white blonde hair. And I'm just like, if they can do that, why can't I put like a little bit of brown? So I went to one of the heads in my school about it, like, what's going on? And she tried to twist the rules, and she said, oh no, it has to be your natural hair color. Because before it was our natural hair color, now it's your natural. And I said, no, you're just assuming my natural hair color is black, which it actually isn't even. No one really has pitch black hair. People have different shades of black in it, I guess. Anyway, but yeah, I went about that because it's just silly that they kind of twist the rules and kind of manipulate it so that no matter what, there's not really any loopholes for us to get out of, which is it's very frustrating. But I agree with the school and hair thing.
I think it just highlights the ignorance of these teachers as well. They're so ignorant. They think they know all the no, what we're saying is correct. We know what we're doing, being trained for 3 billion years on how to do this and this. They don't understand these things. And that's why teachers, I think, you know, like, I don't know with your schools, but schools normally do like these like insight days for teachers. I think they need to include diversity of hair types, like dreadlocks, because some people don't wear dreadlocks for fun. They wear it for religious reasons. Dreadlocks, afros, I think the new generation of students, when we become parents, hopefully the new generations of teachers, they'll be able to be a lot more aware of our hair. And
I think
they'll be changed. Sorry, go.
I think you guys mentioning this like makes me realize that, like, from my secondary school, I would say my experience wasn't as bad with my hair. I think maybe because I was kind of like the only black girl, like we're a very small population in that sense. And I think I realized how fortunate I was, because my school, in terms of hair, like the way I was switching my hair, and particularly in year 11, it was more of that sort of, oh, like you have different hair today, or how like how long did it take, or is it like, I think I would be able to be more open about it in that sense. And it wasn't sort of a judgment thing. You could just tell they genuinely just didn't know about black hair like that. And then in terms of the teachers as well, I remember there was a time I did braids and like 2 parts of it was blonde. Like no one really said much about it, but I know like teachers have complained to other students for dyeing their hair green or whatnot. So I think, but for me anyway, fortunately, I did have quite a good experience with hair in my secondary school.
I think linking on to what you said, that like when you kind of grow up in those areas where people aren't overtly racist, like towards you, like in the context of hair, I think sometimes you can find that you experience stuff like that through microaggressions. Like someone won't say, "Oh, your hair's ugly," or hide your afro, but they'll start doing things like touching your hair without your permission, or they will ask you questions like, "Is your hair real?" or like,
or they'll compare it to something derogatory.
Yeah. And I think sometimes those things can be worse than actual racism, because it's kind of like, for example, touching your hair. People touch my hair all the time, like when I had hair, and like they would just like grab my braids, they would grab my like afro, whatever. And it's like, I didn't give you permission to do it, and I don't even know you as well. So it'll be like random people I didn't know, and they would feel like they had the right to touch something that didn't belong to them. And I found that really annoying, because it's like, I think, what is it about black hair that makes people think that it belongs to them? Do you know what I mean? What is it about our hair that makes people think they can just do what they want without asking us? And I think sometimes microaggressions can actually be worse than like actual racism. And I think stuff like that it makes you feel really bad about yourself as well. And I think, yeah, growing up in like a predominantly white area, you tend to find that stuff happens more often as well. And yeah,
that's the same for me, because when I was in secondary school, I grew up in a school that was literally 98% white British, not 10% maybe white Eastern European, but white British. And I took my hair to school in a massive afro one day, just like in this picture there. I took to school like that. I said, no, let me just go out and do it. And the attention was they were looking at me as if I was a circus animal, like a dodo bird just came, an extinct animal just came into the school. And it was crazy. One boy, he would stick pens inside my hair, and I wouldn't find out until the next day. I'd be like, "Why did you put that in my hair? What's your problem?" I don't know. I just felt like it. Why did teachers punish them enough for this? I looked at the teacher like, "Do you see what this guy is doing?" And she just looked at me like, "This is not my business. Let me just turn a blind eye to this." It's crazy. And they'll be touched. Like one of my teachers, I was asking her about help for my coursework when I got into sixth form, and she just unprovoked grabbed my hair. Wow, this hair feels like cotton candy. This is amazing. I just looked at her like, "Miss, what are you doing?" I looked at her like, "Miss, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable." She was like, "Your hair, it's so." She had both hands in my hair like this, and I was like, "Crazy! I came to you for coursework, and you come to me for hair." I don't get it.
I feel like sometimes white people think that they're being like respectful because they don't understand our hair, so they think, "Oh, let me just touch it, blah blah blah," and they don't realize that it's bad. They didn't realize they're doing anything wrong. But I don't know what the solution then would be. Like, they don't think they're doing anything wrong, but obviously they are, because they're just curious or whatever. I don't know, maybe like,
if their friends come with a new colored hair, they won't be touching their hair up and down because they'll ruin it.
Where does the authority come from? Like, why you might be curious, but you wouldn't do that to your white friend, just another white person. So why are you doing it to me?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, like, it's so true about the ignorance thing, but the thing is, even if you are genuinely interested in what our hair feels like, blah blah, I'm not even gonna entertain that one, but sure, fair enough. But like at the same time, like, it makes people uncomfortable. That's the thing with microaggressions for me. Like, it makes people uncomfortable, so stay away from it. Like, don't do things that that they're like, I don't like. Like, that if it makes people uncomfortable, you won't do it. Just like, why would you make someone uncomfortable just because you're curious about something? Like, in my opinion, that's fucking stupid. Yeah.
You won't be able to challenge them on it because they know they're in that position of authority. If you say, if we go to them like, "I didn't like the way you touched my hair," they'll then switch it on you as if you're being aggressive or you're
they will gaslight.
That's where the gaslight comes through, and then you want to go to authority or talk to one of the superiors in the school that this person did this to me, I felt uncomfortable, and they won't take it seriously, and then you're just back in square one.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like some like white people see black hair or just black people in general as like a source of entertainment. Not at like actual people. They just see it as like, "Oh my gosh, your hair's so cool," and like we're characters, not like we're actual human beings. But yeah.
I think it's because in the media, Black people are represented as such fun people, trendsetters. We're down with everything. We're only here for good times. We're not people who have emotions and people who get sad and people who have dreams. They just see us as, "Oh, she just there entertaining." I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of education needed in this country because this country has a serious denial issue in terms of their deep-seated racism and microaggression. A lot of people are still in denial. Like where I live, like the county council doesn't want to release a statement regarding Black Lives Matter or regarding Black experiences, which is crazy, especially in the time we live in. So I don't know about that, but I think education is number one with this. And education not only through personal, but education through social media as well, because I think social media is the fastest way to get information around now. So a lot of people are starting to become aware, like white people are looking in themselves now that what did I do to this person that made them feel uncomfortable? Like for me personally,
I feel like,
Yes,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to say, like, bounce off your point about like education, because I feel like I spent a lot of my time educating white people about my hair. And the thing is, what I found annoying was like, okay, like they don't know, but then they come and ask again and again and again. And I'm like, I'm not your black person spokesperson. Like, it was just really like annoying. So I feel like education is important. I feel like people need to be educated on other people's cultures, because what happens is just there's all these black kids are like across the UK that have the burden of like educating like white kids about their hair. So yeah.
Oh my days, I agree with you so much on that point in that sense. Sorry.
Oh, don't worry, I'm sorry.
sorry, go ahead. No, but I was just saying, like, I agree with you so much on that point, because generally when I say, like, for my year, I was literally the only black girl, and I felt like I had to represent the whole black nation. And I can even look back and think, I can even admit to myself, I wasn't as educated on certain things, and therefore I literally couldn't really express certain things to white people and ensure that I was actually representing black people on that level, where if you went to see another black person, you wouldn't do these things. So I guess, yeah, it's that sort of pressure when you're put in those positions where everything's predominantly white, where you're just kind of like, you're kind of making me the spokesperson for other black people, when it's really, I only represent myself and what I know. So yeah.
I saw somewhere that this person said that like most black people are tired of educating white people about these issues, because there's so much resources and so much information available, but certain white people, not saying all of them, some of them just cannot be bothered to educate themselves on it. And I thought to myself, what else can we do? There's social media, there's books, there are some black people who are willing to talk about their experiences. What else can you do? And I don't want to believe that people are lost causes, because I believe that some people just, there's still some kind of hope for them. Some people some white people, not only white people, Asian, some other minorities. Of course, I feel like black people, Asian people, we all have different experiences. Some other races of people would just be deliberately dense when it comes to these issues. They'll be like, I don't understand why you think your hair, it's just hair at the end of the day. It's not a big deal. It's not like I'm stabbing you or anything. They don't understand how deep it goes. They'll make it as dramatic to try and dampen your experience. You'll tell them that I feel uncomfortable touching my hair. My hair is this is the history of my hair, but they'll just pretend like they don't know, but they really do know. So for some people, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just kind of lost my point. But I just think, I don't know, where was I even going with this?
I get what you're saying, like, because like kind of like back to that point of like, I feel like I spent a lot of my time trying to like be patient and like educate people, and bit like people ask like the dumbest questions, like say if I have a weave and they'll be like, oh yeah, you sew it in, they'll be like, so you sew it into your scalp? And I'm like, why would I sew anything into my scalp? Like, why would I do that? So like,
oh sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So I feel like it's one of those things where I feel like we need to learn to like protect ourselves as well, because I feel like I just got to a point where I just be like, I just can't like ignore it, because like it does get like draining to have to explain things. And the thing is, like, as well, like there's so many resources, like there's like people have dedicated their lives to talk about like hair or talk about like black issues. Like there's so many books, there's so many like documentaries, so many like films. So it's like, it's not my burden. For example, if like you wanted to learn about Christianity, you wouldn't just turn around to your Christian friend and be like, tell me everything about God. You'd go out and you'd like find a pastor, or you find like, someone to like teach you about it. So I don't understand why there's that expectation on black people to just educate white people on black issues. So
yeah, I completely, sorry.
No, go on. Sorry.
I completely agree in terms of like, I don't think people realize how emotionally draining it is to constantly explain to people different concepts of like racism and stuff. Like I remember during the Black Lives Matter movement, a friend came up to me and was like, tell me about all your racist experiences. And I was like, I probably don't want to relive every single racist experience that I've like gone throughout my whole life. Like it's quite emotionally draining to go through and be like, this happened to me, and then this happened to me, and then that happened to me. Like I don't want to do that, and it's not my responsibility to educate anyone else about what I've gone through. Like it's been said before, like there's so many resources out there. Like information is literally on your phone. Like Google is free. Like it's very easy to find stuff. So I feel like we shouldn't take it upon ourselves to be teachers of very simple concepts like racism. Yeah.
And then when they ask you what your experience is, they'll rank it in their heads of how bad it was. So they'll tell you, yeah, sorry about that. But in their heads, they'll just think it wasn't that bad. And then that behavior will just continue and continue. And it's not acceptable. And other white people who believe what we're saying need to take it upon themselves as well and carry the burden to educate their fellow white people. So maybe it'll get inside their heads how important these issues are. The more white people that educate, not only white people, the more other ethnic groups that educate each other on these issues, the better the load will be off Black people. Because Black people, over these hundreds of years, we've gone through a lot of crap. And a serious break by the government, by society, everybody. We need people to own up to their, what if you said this, own up to it, say, yes, I did it, but I've educated myself on it, and then we'll accept it. Certain Black people might be like, no, once a racist, always a racist. Once people are able to change, no matter how old you are, you're able to change your views, change your perception of things, and that's how the world can go forward.
I think
human beings are not static.
The thing with that is sometimes you have to consider that a lot of the people being problematic in this sense are kids. So adults, we can be like, yeah, okay, you can just go read a book or watch a YouTube video. Sometimes little kids, they don't know better. And a lot of that stuff stems from what they're taught at home, yeah. But I think sometimes you have to kind of make structural changes, like educate kids in school, because like a 7-year-old can't be like, yeah, let me just go read this book and quickly learn about black hair. No, I think we have to get we have to make changes structurally in like schools and stuff, and have like little lessons for kids to learn about Black history. Like it's not like, I know a lot of conversations have been like had on, you know, Black education and Black history and all that kind of stuff, and why it's important. And I feel like we need to do that for Black hair as well, or just like microaggressions, and teach kids how important it is to be respectful of other people, because sometimes it's not everyone that can go educate themselves. And I think, yeah, we need to kind of understand that, because it kind of depends.
Even little interactive books, like all these animations, because we know the best way to communicate these ideas to children is through animation, cartoons, and all that. And if more creators, even white creators, use their talent to help push forward the issues that a lot of Black girls and Black people in general face, all those kind of traits will just be weaned out of them completely. And then when they get to our age, they'll be very, not woke, but they'll be more aware of these issues and be more willing to tackle them. So, yeah.
I think, yeah, the last bit I'll say about this was there was this phrase that I remember hearing on TikTok that some person said. It was, they want to hear my struggles, they just want to hear it from you. So it was talking about, they do want to hear about, you know, Black people, and I guess some people do want to learn. However, the news gets faster if a white person or another person of a different race talks about it, rather than a Black person. We've been fighting for our rights for a long time, like a long time. But it was only when, you know, more white allies started coming to the forefront of the movement that they then, you know, they were like, oh, yeah, okay, so maybe, you know, these are a little bit wrong, or maybe, you know, this really hurts them, or maybe, you know, those kind of things. So, I mean, we do need more allies, I guess, to fight for our case. But at the end of the day, I feel like Black voices are so strong and so loud that we do make a way for ourselves as well, with or without these people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with that as well, it gets to a point where white people use activism for clout, where it gets to the point where they're like, yeah, I know this is gonna get me more popular because everybody wants to hear it from me. And they see it when other white creators get popular, from speaking out about these issues, they're like, I'm gonna do that too. And like it's such a problem on like TikTok and other platforms.
Yeah, there was this thing I saw about this Asian girl that was I don't even know the whole story, but apparently she had a Black boyfriend at some point. She was one of those like activism I think she was just saying something about like how Black people are treated in medicine, you know, with the kidney stuff and all that stuff.
I saw that one as well.
Yeah, and she had the Black boyfriend, and the boyfriend was like, used to call me nigger all the time, and all of a sudden he used to call me slurs, and all of a sudden you want to be doing activism, and instead of her to go out and like apologize, I mean, I don't know, I'm mansplaining, you guys already know, but like, why didn't she just like come out and say that she she used to be like the thing is they never want to acknowledge that they've done wrong, and it's fine to obviously no one is perfect. Like, I don't even like with other issues like gay people and all that manner of stuff, you can't be 100%, like you can't know everything 100%, but when you do make a mistake or like say something wrong or you misinterpret something, you should like call it out yourself. You should be like, actually what I did here was wrong and it's fine and I won't do it again. But they never want to do that. They want to move like they've been politically correct since the day where they were fucking born. It's actually so annoying. It's annoying, but yeah.
Yeah, like I completely agree with you. Like I don't get why we congratulate people who are against racism. It doesn't make sense. Like a white creator on TikTok will say like, oh my god, racism's bad, and then like all the comments will be like, my respect for you went up, and it's like, what that's like the bare minimum. It doesn't make any sense.
But being racist is like the bare minimum.
Yeah. Like there's one TikToker, his name is Tony Lopez. I think all of us are on TikTok. Skip that tweet. They'll be doing all this. Just skip it. Because one of them, he did one video because people were putting pressure on these influencers to speak about it. All he said was, Black Lives Matter, racism is bad. Put a fist in the comments. That guy was completely demolished because it just shows how much they don't really care about us. They just want to fling their statement out there for publicity, just so they won't be. Because the court of public opinion is even bigger than the actual legal court. Because if the public don't like you, your career is finished. So these people, they'll just say, put a black fist, Black Lives Matter, but they'll go back to their microaggression.
Yeah.
It's like, as Black people, it's really hard to find who we can trust. For all these other races, Asian people, Black people, all of them, it's hard to see who's really for us. And I think this Black Lives Matter thing has really showed our people who have friends that are outside our race, we're being able to see who really, really stands for us. Because I think there's some people from, I don't know, our towns or our schools that have said something problematic, and you'll know that this is something that they've always had in their heads. So yeah.
But I feel like sometimes it's a little bit hard, like when things are so big on social media, because I saw people like posting like black squares and all that type of stuff, and I'm like, I've heard you say the N-word, I've heard you say all this like stuff. So I feel like sometimes it is a bit of like performance activism. So like it is sometimes hard to tell. Like some people were like defo posting like problematic stuff like during the protest. I think one of the craziest things I saw was someone posted like a picture of Martin Luther King and they were like, he didn't riot, and I'm like, yes he did. Like he did not. I just found that so weird. But like I do feel like sometimes like people can like hop onto a trend and people can like, because everyone else is doing it, I'm going to post a black square because I don't want to seem racist, but then they could be quite microaggressional or you've seen them be racist. So I feel like sometimes it is a bit hard with like things like social media, because sometimes people will do bare minimum or just try and seem less racist so they can get on to like the trend. So yeah, it's a little bit hard sometimes.
I'm sorry, continue. Why did I interrupt? Oh, sorry. Basically, I just wanted to say, it's obviously they do. Yeah, you're right. And I just wanted to add that like it's partly, I hate to blame victimized groups, but it's partly our fault as well. Stop fucking inviting people to the cookout. That shit pisses me off so much. They will make some average ass jollof rice and everyone is like, yes, she's one of
shaking.
He's not invited.
Or they'll say one word of Yoruba, one word of like,
honestly,
Yoruba for me.
And then people bring up, this is how the white people were able to colonize us. This is how we're obviously it's like, wow, they know how to speak our language, or wow, they know this about culture. But maybe we kind of need to tone it down a bit as a group, so these white people won't be feeling like, yeah, I can get in their space and I can sell this crap and I won't be reprimanded for it.
Yeah, so it's like gatekeep culture, you know. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say as well, it's like the Adele thing, isn't it? Like, I mean, I don't know what everyone's opinions are. It's just like at the same time, yeah, we understand Adele grew up in Tottenham, but it's not an excuse for wearing Bantu nuts. And it's just like, the more you let people, the more you just sort of give them the like the go ahead, the okay, like they just feel like, I don't know, like it's just really, I just find it hella stupid in my opinion. Sorry. Oh, bad Barbie, oh my god, if I see that bitch, I might actually kill somebody. But yeah. It's just really, I really hate the concept. I mean, we all do, don't we? But the cookout thing just pisses me off, and the Adele thing pissed me off so much, because like, why are black people telling me that this white woman knows more about Black struggles than I do. I just find stuff like that really stupid. And when you start to put white people over like Black people, it doesn't, even in our own issues, like in our own like spaces, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's it.
Can I just add to that? I just wanted to say that everything you've just said just reminded me of how we basically renamed Jack from Love Island. We called him Oluwa Jack, didn't we? Yeah, Oluwa Jack.
We did.
Even Archie, I think on social media as well, there was a period of time where everyone was calling Archie, the Prince Harry's son, called him Oluwa Archie as well, because Meghan.
I think we're short on time. Sorry, guys, we're short on time. Practically, I was also going to talk about, the wigs and braids bit, but we'll need to move on to the next section. But what I was going to say about the wigs and braids, I was just going to ask a question as in, why do people wear wigs? I'm saying it now because I have my hair in cornrows because I'm going to wear my wig tomorrow. So, why, like, obviously cultural appropriation, appreciation, assimilation. Assimilation is obviously talking about why Black women started wearing wigs in the UK especially. But now it's about, does it become appropriation? Does it become appreciation? Or does it have nothing to do with culture? But I mean, there'll probably be another time we can talk about this. Probably not today. We'll see if we have time at the end or whatever. But I think we have to move on to the next section.
Who's next?
Yeah.
Do you want to just end your screen sharing, Favor?
Oh, yeah. Not really. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if like there's a positive response to these discussion nights, we can definitely do these more often. This is just kind of like a trial run to see if people kind of engage, and clearly everyone's into it. So if people like the hair topic, we can definitely do like a whole session dedicated to hair, but that's something we'll just plan for the future. So I'm going to kind of lead the next topic, which is on the strong Black woman trope. So I wonder if anyone's heard of it. What does everyone know about it? So before we kind of get into the meanings.
For me, I perceive it as being the, this is what I see on Instagram a lot, like the idea that Black women are incapable of being vulnerable, that we're not able to be like sad or whatever. I've always seen it being associated to emotions. So that's why I've always defined it as.
Yeah. That's true. So you're basically right. The strong Black woman trope is just this idea that Black women are kind of inherently strong. Like, we cannot be vulnerable. We possess a high tolerance to things like pain, stress, grief, and it's like typically characterized by women who are really hardworking, look after everyone else, are selfless, look after everyone but themselves. They've endured like hardships, trauma, but they don't kind of deal with the trauma, and they use it to kind of keep them going without actually responding to it. And we can see it in a lot of like movies. For example, I don't know if anyone's watched The Help with Davis. So her character, what's the name? Aibileen Clark. Her character is a maid, and she's a Black maid that works for white people. And I feel like her character is a really good example of the strong Black woman trope personified, because she basically is selfless. She works for these people and she looks after their children, especially this little white girl, and she doesn't kind of put herself first. She puts their needs first, and she has to be strong for them. But then it gets to a point where she can't do that any longer. And so I was just going to share my screen and show you this little video I found on YouTube. Okay, can everyone see that?
All my life I had to fight. Since the late 20th century, the image of Black women as unbreakable and almost superhuman has dominated TV and film.
I've been only human my whole life. I want to be something else now. I want to be a warrior.
The strong Black woman character type on screen can be identified by some key features. She does not tolerate BS.
So when in doubt, shut your mouth.
She has a strong moral compass and holds others accountable.
Listen up, Andrews. You are in free fall and I am not having it.
She's a natural nurturer.
Stop putting your head down in my house.
You know my rule. It's all love and all pride in this house.
Channeling her strength into helping others, sometimes even to the point that she disregards her own needs. She's a high performer.
I analyze the manometer levels for air displacement, friction, and velocity. By hand.
The strong Black woman has likely had to outperform her mostly white and or male peers in order to get where she is.
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half what they have.
Perhaps most centrally, this character has endured extreme hardships in her life and overcome them.
I had to fight my daddy. I had to fight my uncles. I had to fight my brothers. Girl, child ain't safe in the family names.
The adversity she's lived through has become a source of her inner power and helped define her code of personal ethics. The strong Black woman can be seen as selfless strength personified, the human embodiment of the maxim that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Although Black women of immeasurable strength do exist in real life, in recent years, popular culture has begun to recognize the toll that having to manifest this superhuman strength takes on Black women, both on screen and off.
Black women.
Okay, cool. So I hope everyone kind of understood what the video was trying to kind of demonstrate. Basically, the strong Black woman trope is decided that Black women are really, really strong and can never be vulnerable. And obviously, there are a lot of benefits to being a strong Black woman. I think, given everything that we experience as Black women, you kind of have to be strong to kind of get through it. You know what I mean? You have to have this kind of shell to help you to kind of act as a defense mechanism against all the racism, microaggressions, a lot of the abuse that we face as well by white people, men and stuff like that. But obviously there are a lot of problems with the strong Black woman trope, and I was going to kind of put it to you guys and ask what you think the problems are with this trope, and maybe share some of your experiences as well.
One thing I learned not quite recently, but there's a thing called adultification bias, which really affects Black women or Black children, especially Black girls. It's when institutions or people in power, so talk about like teachers, parents, even like the law enforcement and stuff like that, they're less protective and they're stricter with Black girls in particular because they view them as oh, they can handle it or they're stronger. And there's like a lot of research surrounding that, which I found interesting because it's like when we need the law on our side or say something has happened to us, they're less inclined to help us because they believe that, oh, we can handle whatever situation or we're strong enough to deal with that, or they may view us as less human in that sense, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that kind of like reinforces the idea of a strong woman.
I think there's always a sense of
Go ahead. I don't think anyone else is speaking.
Sorry, don't interrupt you then. Sorry, my connection's gone out, so.
Oh no, it's fine. You're good to go.
Sorry. Okay, sorry, my connection went out, so like it sounded like you stopped speaking, and I was like, oh. But are you done? Sorry, you made it.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you if you haven't finished.
No, I'm finished. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Basically, because I was going to go off that in the phone. I was going to go off that point in that sense where something I didn't realize until similar in that sense, not recent, but obviously a couple of years ago, where Black girls in that sense we've put more pressure on. So I think there was an instance where I went back home to Nigeria for holiday and I was with my cousins, and basically apparently the sons like my could go out like late, whereas their daughter couldn't go out at all. And it was always seen as like the Black girl was often seen as more protective over, but in a negative sense rather than being more educated. It was like, oh, I don't know how to express it, but it just seemed very odd that, okay, your boys can go out, you favor your boys basically over your daughter. And it just gave off that impression that I guess Black girls, as you said, aren't treated equally, and you're often sort of pushed to the side and given more blame over certain things. So yeah, hopefully that made sense.
I
think it's a cultural issue as well, because like we know, like probably a lot of our moms will tell us that you have to make sure you're this, like maybe at a young age, you have to make sure you're this, you have to know how to do this, you have to do this for your husband. They'll start telling you about husband at 10, like 11, trying to get you ready for the life, when we're in a period in time where we don't need to worry about that anymore until a later stage. But yeah, not only in racism, it's really, really rooted in a lot of our cultures, not only like African culture. I don't know whether it's rooted in maybe Caribbean. I don't know if there are any Caribbean people here, but I think it's just mostly a thing where our moms will tell us that we have to do this, and we have to live up to this standard just because we mature faster. And I think it's something that obviously tradition takes ages to kind of break down a bit, but maybe we can start with this one and maybe raise our if we have any kids, if we want to have kids to start off, maybe raise our girls to be a child for as long as possible. When you get to that stage, then you can be ready to be taught it. So yeah.
You know what's interesting about that? I like how you mentioned the this idea of the strong Black woman trope being rooted in traditional African cultures, because I think it is. Obviously not everyone is going to be African, but I think it all kind of leads back to the same thing. And in African cultures, generally there's this expectation of women as being the wife, the mother, the what else? The cook, the cleaner, the everything. You do everything. You take on all of these roles and these responsibilities. And from when you're a child, you're taught to take on these responsibilities. The daughter cooks, but the son doesn't, right? And so you have to cook for your brothers if you have brothers. The daughter cleans, but the son doesn't clean.
The daughter is asked to stay a virgin till marriage. The husband can go right. If he's a man on the streets, then he's not a man. And his dad will be teaching him, you're not a man until you have all these girls around you. And it's so backward think. It's backwards. Like in my family, they didn't have that kind of mentality where everyone's treated the same. But I know a lot of my extended family members who were treated like that. Like the husband can run around, have all these kids, but it's okay. Our parents will turn a blind eye. But if the daughter just slips up one way, then that's the end for the family. The family has been shamed. And it's something that's so toxic in like African households and African families. It's something that's been going on for too long. It shouldn't be going on for this long. And
do you think in that sense, is it because like our parents know the struggles of a Black woman, that's why they're so sort of kind of more stricter, more like harsher on us?
That's true. Because we could think that that's really all they know. That's what their moms taught them, and their moms before them taught them. And it's not until this generation where we're encouraged to think more freely. So that's true.
Yeah, because even my mum says it a lot. She's like, she literally said it's not easy being a woman in this world. I don't know if she says Black woman, but she's always like, it's not easy being a woman. And like, it kind of always sets in that sort of foundation that, yeah, being a woman in this world, we're not as supported in that sense. Just being a woman in general, I mean, but then also being a Black woman on that, of being the fact that, yeah, we have issues with our hair. Then there's the added issue of pay gap. Then there's the added issue of the expected body type, etc., etc. So I think just looking on the positive sides of it, I think sometimes our parents are trying to come from a place of sort of protectiveness, but to us, whereas we're now more woke in that sense, it's kind of like, but mum, I know what happens in the world, like I'm aware of these things, so you don't have to as sort of partial on me then of your sons. But yeah,
I think they're trying to prepare us.
Also, can I just add to what you've said about sorry?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay. Can I just add to what you said about Black women not really being supported, or women in general not really being supported? I feel like Black women, especially, because even in the Black community, I don't really see much support from Black men to the Black women, because the amount of times I've heard a Black guy say, "Oh wow, you're pretty for a Black girl," it's actually shocking.
It's mad.
It's absolutely shocking.
Gaslight as well, and they add to the struggle of Black women, which is a bit like, if you meant to be on our side, it's like, what's going on? That's just that's even another conversation for another day as well. But it's a very wide broad topic.
Guys, if you wanted to add something, her mic isn't working. Okay, can you hear?
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically I wanted to say it was just again leading on from like having no support and everything. This thing about Superman syndrome, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it basically affects Black women way more than it affects any other racial group. And it's this idea that Black women have to be so strong that they internalize all of their mental health issues, which then has a physiological and psychological effect on them later on in life. And it just leads on from that like idea that like even the name Superman syndrome, it doesn't make it sound like it's terrible, like it's a bad thing. And that just shows that like Black women are seen as like strong, need to be a superhero all the time. And even their problems aren't even serious problems, because I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't sound serious, but it really is.
Yeah, adding on to like that point of like internalizing, in terms of, this is like in terms of mental health issues, it's a bit personal, but like in terms of like eating disorders, I genuinely thought eating disorders was like something that Black women did not deal with. Like I've never, in terms of like when you see it or it's being discussed, it's always like a 16-year-old white girl. So like when it comes to obviously going up and like, you know, all the issues, body confidence and all that jazz, when it comes to like eating disorders, you're like, you don't realize it's a problem because you're like, oh well, I'm just, you know, going through something that's normal. But like and especially as well in terms of like schools, like people don't see it as an issue because like they just assume that you're really, really strong. And like I just don't think that should be the case, especially when you go to like counselors and stuff and they're like, Black girls' mental health issues are not dealt with the same amount of urgency as like a white girl's mental health issue, which I don't feel like it should be the case, like at all. Like there should be an equal amount of urgency if you're going to deal with like the same issue, depending, regardless of someone's race or gender or age. Like, you know, it's an issue that you should deal with. Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought, oh sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up this topic of mental health because that's what I was going to I was going to lead the topic on to next. I think mental health is a massive issue in the Black community for everyone generally, but especially for Black women, because I think we tend to take in multiple burdens, and I feel like the strong Black woman trope kind of prevents us from having our issues dealt with, or even like talking about them, because it's like, oh, you're strong, you're meant to be strong anyway, so I don't care what issues you're dealing with. And I feel like that can lead to really serious mental health issues, like depression, anxiety, and even when you start dealing with those issues, who do you have to talk to about them? Even other women, Black women that are facing the same things, you can't talk to them about them either, because they too feel like, oh, I'm a strong Black woman, I don't need to share how I feel with other people, and that makes it even worse. So I think there's like an issue with mental health, and the whole thing just makes it 10 times worse. What does everyone else think?
I like completely agree. And the issue as well is like, say if you do go for help and say if you do like talk to someone, it's most likely going to be a white counselor, and they might not be able to get like the cultural issues or kind of like the expectation put behind Black women with the whole strong Black woman trope. And then they might have like their like microaggressions and like the unconscious biases just put all on top of that. So like even when you do get help, sometimes there's all these like barriers like to be able to get to where you need to go. And like I saw this post online and it was like, oh, sometimes like Black women struggle to recognize depression and anxiety, and so they just feel like they're failing. And I felt like that was like I really resonated with that, because it felt like, yeah, it just feels like I'm failing to be like this strong person, when actually it's like, no, you're actually going through like maybe like mental health stuff. Because it's like I just don't feel like it's realistic, the expectations that are put on like Black women. And kind of like at the same time, I feel like it's this weird double-edged sword where like we're expected to be strong, or we're expected to like kind of like hold up our communities and all that type of stuff, but then we're also painted as being like angry and like aggressive, and like, so it's also like it's this weird really hard world to like navigate, where like you need to be strong and you need to stand up for yourself, but then when you are strong and you do stand up for yourself, then you're painted as being angry and aggressive, and like you just hold to calm down. So yeah,
I think leading on from the whole therapist thing with white therapists, I think that leads into the broader topic as well of racial like bias in the medical practice, like in terms of psychology, physical health, all that sort of stuff. They believe a lot of medics and therapists and psychologists, they kind of, I know they have this internal feeling that Black women don't feel as much pain but they don't feel as much mental pain as white women, because white women are seen as more fragile. Oh my gosh, we have to help her. She's going through this. They'll get 1,000,001 psychologists, therapists around her. And then for us, we have nobody. We're there sitting there internalizing it. We have people around us telling us to get over it, go through it. It's just a storm, hustle.
And leading on from that is the issue of, I know everyone has probably heard of this, you know, the recent death of Nicole Thea. The recent death of Nicole Thea, a Black woman who was pregnant and died while giving birth. Or was it while giving birth? In the process of giving birth. And like, you know, obviously I don't know the facts of her whole process, but this is a real issue that's been happening. And I feel like that's one of the most high profile examples of women dying while giving birth due to like medical negligence. And just the fact that a lot of these doctors, a lot of these kind of medical professionals don't see Black women as being capable of feeling pain. And so they think our tolerance is really, really high to these things. And so they just don't care. They become really negligent and they kind of ignore you until it kind of becomes, until you die or something. Like that's actually the fact. And I feel like obviously the strong Black woman trope has really bad effects like on our daily lives, depression, anxiety, blah, blah. But like it can actually lead to death. And that's why it's really, really important that we kind of understand kind of just how serious this thing is. Do you know what I mean?
I was I would think that one of the things about the strong that the Black strong woman Black trope for me is really to do with having to, you know, the whole point of being strong and not being allowed to be weak and stuff like that. Like as I'm the second of 5 girls, but I'm classed as the strongest out of all my siblings. So, you know, because there's no boys in our household, obviously the whole head of the household, but not really head of household, but you know that whole stereotypes that most boys have, that they're the strong ones, they do like, you know, they fix stuff, that all of that. I was the one who had to do that, and because of that it was really difficult to, you know, my sisters are the ones, they'll always cry, like anything that happens they'll always cry. If they have a stomach ache, you know, my mom has to know. But me, I could have the baddest cramps and no one will know, you know, I'll still be downstairs, I'll still have a smile on my face, those kind of things. And it's even, you know, seeped into schools, seeped into my relationship with other people, where, you know, I'd rather be the one to hear, like, it sounds weird, but I'd rather be the one to comfort someone when they're crying than be the one to be comforted. And I think that's one thing that really stretches out in our community, especially.
I agree, and I feel like that in the household as well, when you think about it. I don't know if it's the same for like all African families or people of African heritage, where their parents or whoever may not see like mental health as a real thing. Do you get what I mean? Because a lot of people do deal with mental health issues. I say everyone deals with mental health issues, but parents may not see it. They'd be like, oh, not my child will never go through that. That's not a thing that my children will go through. I've never dealt with it, though they wouldn't acknowledge that they've dealt with it. So especially Black mothers, I feel like in particular, because I know I've dealt with that, mom has dealt with that. So it's, I don't know if that's the same for everyone. Has anyone else?
I don't believe that it's the work of the devil automatically. Sometimes the devil has nothing to do with it. The devil is here like, what? And they say it's like, I feel like a lot of us Black girls, we need therapy. Like, for example, one of my family members, she's doing tough A levels. She needed to go to therapy to get over her. I don't know if everyone can hear me.
Just a bit. I think someone needs to mute.
Can't hear me.
Just mute vocals.
Yeah.
Listen. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna assume you guys can hear me. And so yeah, so one of my family members, she's doing really demanding A levels, and there's one particular subject that's just been causing her a lot of breakdown, like her body will just break down. And I feel like a lot of our mothers, they just don't want to accept that your child is going through this kind of thing. Just because they go through anxiety, depression doesn't mean that their life is over. It's just need a bit of extra help. I think it's rooted in religion as well, because a lot of us, I'm guessing a lot of us have like faith connected in our lives. So they'll think that no, someone back home is dabbling in something that's causing my child to do this. Sometimes no, it's not like that. Sometimes the brain is just, it's just, obviously with depression, it's when there's less serotonin. So we just need to try and break out. Obviously, I'm a Christian, so sometimes it might be that, but then I think most of the time it's not. It's just an issue of the neurological thing. And I think it also ties back to some of our parents not being educated enough. But some of them will still be educated enough, but won't want to accept it.
Yeah.
I think it needs to start now, especially with our parents. Like, for example, my mom she's a social worker, so she knows about all this mental health issues. She doesn't want to accept that any of her kids can go through these kind of things, or they'll want to get therapy. Like I told my mom, I feel like with my course, I think I need to speak to like a counselor. Obviously, I've spoken to people, I need to speak to a counselor about this. I need to speak to a therapist about this. She was like, you can speak to us, family is this, but no, I need to, like, sometimes you need professional help with these kind of things. And it's not bad. It's the your job prospect people, like your future employers, aren't going to see it as a weakness. They'll see it as strength, because it's hard for a lot of us to be able to take that step and talk to someone about it, professional. And a lot of us Black people need therapy, because a lot of us have gone through traumatic things. I don't know if you know this comedian named Young Philly. He's like with Chunks, and he's very, very energetic, and he comes across as someone who has no issue. I know he's not a Black woman, but it still kind of links in. But he comes across as extremely energetic, constantly on a high on life. And he put on Twitter that he's going to speak to a therapist, and it shocked everyone. And people, it sparked another conversation of Black people, Black women especially, needing to speak if we need to. Because I'm not saying everyone is suffering from mental health issues, but not enough of us are able to speak about it and are able to get the help. So I think it's good that a lot of us are taking those baby steps.
Yeah, I completely agree in terms of like, I feel like Black women especially have become like masters of pretending that everything's okay.
Yeah.
So the second you're like, wait, hang on, I need help, everyone around you is like, no, you don't, like, you're fine, you look fine, so you're fine. So I feel like stuff like that, the fact that people get shocked that you're like feeling emotions is something that I feel like needs to change, because we are all like human beings, we all get sad and stuff. Just because you haven't seen me cry doesn't mean I don't do it. So I feel like this normalization of like believing that Black women actually feel should start happening, because it's so strange that people just don't believe us when we're saying that we're upset about something, if that makes sense.
And I think that links back to this idea of the masculinization of Black women, especially documentary. Like, everyone thinks that Black women are really like, like aggressive, like tough, and when you see a Black woman cry, it's like, what's going on? It seems like an alien thing, and people don't expect us to cry, don't expect us to show emotion. If we do cry, people kind of just dismiss it. And I don't even know what the solution to that would be. I think it's just people need to get used to the fact that Black women can have emotions and can cry. But I feel like we don't show emotion all the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think it becomes a bit harder when we do show emotion to get people to understand that like our emotions matter. And I feel like that's when it gets complicated.
I think it's important in like education, just to kind of like go back to like what you were saying before of like Black women like dying in pregnancy. Like, I study medicine, and like when I say like all of medicine is done on like white bodies, like you don't know anything, you're not taught about anything about like Black women's bodies, you're not taught anything about like Asian bodies, you just assume that the white body, or when you look at the study and it says like 89% of the participants were white, you just assume that everything that's applied within the study is just expected to be the same on like Black bodies. So I feel like there's like a big issue there with like education, because I'm not being taught about like, I don't know, how like certain symptoms present with like Black people compared to white people, because there are like differences, and like I'm not being taught about like how to deal with like mental health in a culturally sensitive way. So it's like, it's one of those things where like they definitely need to put it in like education for like doctors, healthcare professionals, social workers, anyone who's going to be working with Black people, because like as I'm like learning it now, I'm just like not being taught. Even something as simple as like a rash, it's just shown like on a white body with like red skin, but that's not what it showed up on me. So it's just like, there's the lack of consideration of like showing what it's like, or educating people what it's like for like Black experiences. So yeah.
To go off what you said, there's apparently been a lot of cases where Black people have been misdiagnosed, particularly Black women. I think it's been happening a lot in America, where like there've been instances where they've went to a white doctor, and the white doctor would say it's one thing, whereas when they go to like a doctor, like obviously a Black doctor, the Black doctor is able to identify these issues. So yeah, definitely. I think during the Black Lives Matter, there was that sort of highlighting. There was this issue. I think this boy created a book concerning like the difference between white and Black people. So yeah, definitely in terms of education, that it's not just white people that go through these things. Like every race goes through these things. It just appears differently on everyone. So yeah.
Just to piggyback on your point. Sorry, just to add to your point, I was gonna say, yeah, partly it is true that obviously they don't really give a fuck about us, honestly. But I think the problem is these racist ass institutions as well, because like if you wanna do medicine or if you wanna like advance yourself, there's no like racism just won't let you get there. Like if you're trying to get to Oxford, it's practically impossible if you're black, even if you have the grades and everything. So it's just like these like racist how do you say, like all the top class like professionals and all the experts and stuff, they're racist motherfuckers. So they don't really care like what's going on. So I think part of the solution is to also get like more black people like in those top like professions, so they can actually like do more for black people, if that makes sense. Like yeah,
especially black women as well. Yeah, I think leading off from I watched a BBC documentary called "What Are the Chances of There Being a Black Prime Minister?" And there was one about like a lot of black people who are in like deprived areas who are very very academically up there. A lot of these personal tutors who are all these admissions tutors, they aren't able to. The reason they're not able to like resonate with these experiences. You have all your experiences down and shown how you be able to overcome them. And with for normal people, like for people like us, we'll be like, wow, this is amazing. Other universities will take them, but Oxford in particular, because their admissions tutors are from these very top class backgrounds, they're not able to, they don't want to relate to it, and they don't really care. And I think it's an issue with them. I feel like there's not enough black people in the country to put them in every single space. Like there's 87 million white people and there's like 4 million black people. So I think it's important to continue to educate these white academic teachers and admissions teachers why this isn't right, and try and change their mindset, because it's crazy. It really is. Because Oxbridge I know they're trying to like show that, yeah, we're bringing in more black women, we're doing this, we're doing that, which is good. It's so nice, but a lot more needs to be done.
And I think that's the difference between like tokenism and genuine representation. Like, are you bringing black women into the space because you want them to be there, or because you want to tick a box? Like, there's a difference, and I feel like the difference is important. Because I don't want to be in a space if you don't want me there, and if I don't feel welcome there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how this relates to the black woman trope, but I just feel like black women matter, our feelings matter, we matter as like a group and as individuals. And if we find ourselves in spaces where people don't respect us, respect our opinions, respect our feelings, then like I don't want to be in that space, and I'm going to create my own space. Do you know what I mean? And it's important that people start to educate themselves on kind of how to become more empathetic and stuff. But until they do, then I'm not going to engage with you. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like, I don't have time for that, because I think people, especially white people, they kind of just take the piss a little bit in terms of like disrespecting black women. And I just feel like in 2020, there's no time for that. There's no time for that, because people are dying. Like, people are actually dying. Black women are dying. So people, like, I don't know, like people just need to become more self-aware and become more culturally aware. It's that simple, to be honest.
Yeah, so much needs to be. I feel like with the whole medical thing that Merviel. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
But I feel like it's time for these textbooks to be scrapped, and they need to talk to black doctors, talk to black medics, do all these same tests on white people on black people. I know this doesn't relate to black women. It's more about this whole medical thing, but do more tests on black skin and put it in the textbook. Even if it starts off with a brand new edition, maybe I'm not gonna say next year, because maybe I don't know how long it takes to make these textbooks, but maybe in the next 2 years to educate these future white doctors on how to identify these problems on black people, and to tell them that explicitly in the textbook, black people do feel pain as well. And to take
imagine you have to actually, have
some people
to
actually
put
have to back in their heads.
Pain. That's actually crazy.
They don't get it. I didn't even realize that some doctors had this bias that they don't believe that black people feel like they don't feel as much pain as their white counterparts. I only literally recently learned it in June, because I know I don't have to be. It's no excuse that I'm not a medic, but I was just like, wow, I didn't realize this was a thing where they'll like, I don't know if this word called underdiagnosed, but misdiagnose black people.
I think, sorry, just with that misdiagnosing, like for example, my sister, she would always go to the GP like, oh my gosh, I have a really bad headache, and because of that I also feel pain in my leg, and the GP would be like, oh no, it's just stress, it's just stress. eventually she kept going, so they had to obviously send her to have a scan, and they found out it wasn't just stress, it was a bit more. So, and it's kind of like that you know, some people who have the same thing as her, that if it had gone on too long, it's something that's not reversible. Luckily, she found it earlier, it's quite reversible. But do you understand, like, if someone of a different, especially if a white girl had gone and said, you know, this is how I'm feeling, they would have, you know, they would have put forward, okay, we can get the MRI scan, we can get the X-ray scan, we can, you know, we can do all these scans that you need to be done. However, why is it for us that, you know, they'll prescribe, you know, paracetamol and ibuprofen and painkillers first before they then check to make sure nothing's wrong? I think, yeah.
Even one of our friends, she fell on her leg, remember?
Yeah.
And she had a lot of issues, and she was going to the GP and everything, but they just ignore everything that she would say. They didn't even put her what she told them in files. So when she went to a different GP, they had no record of any of what she had told the doctors. So imagine, like, you having an issue for over a year. It's been a year and they still don't recognize you as, like, oh, you have an issue that is long lasting, can be like have a long effect. Like,
yeah, I think that's what someone was saying, in terms of, if you go to the GP, for example, and you feel like you need an X-ray, you have to tell them to note down the fact that they're not giving you one, so that if you come again, it's in records that you've come for this before and it's not happened. Because a lot of times, a lot of things we go for need to be taken as a lawsuit, but if you go for a lawsuit and there's no evidence that you've come, you know, you've come before for this issue, there's nothing you can do. So that's why I saw someone someone said that if you go for something, you have to tell them, they have to write down, they didn't give you all they prescribed was you know, painkillers, they didn't give you an X-ray, they didn't give you an MRI scan, they didn't, you know, they didn't chase up this thing, you went to another person and they did the same thing. You know, you have to have everything recorded. This is the digital age. We need things on paper, we need things on technology, we need things that is evidence of our own pain. Do you understand what I mean? I guess.
oh, can you guys hear us all right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, from what you guys have said about the hospital, and Konya, you were talking about how like, even African parents, they don't take mental health seriously. Do you think Black women find it hard to, like, ask for help because of that? And, like, have you had any situations where you found it hard to ask for help because you're supposed to be strong?
Yeah. I feel like sometimes we're our own worst enemy. We have all these resources around us and all this support, all our friends, but some of us just don't feel like we deserve it. Like, me personally, I'm someone I'm someone that can express my feelings, but I know other people who find it difficult to express their feelings. If they're going through something, they feel like they shouldn't be burdening other people with their problem.
That's probably how I feel. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. For me, I can tell the person, I'm going through this. I'll be crying to them. I have no shame. I'll be crying in their face. I was literally crying to Titi like last week over my course. I was like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I feel like this is the end. Even though we're only in the 5th week, but I know some other people who they just can't. They feel like I'm just burdening this person. This person has their own issues. Mine is insignificant.
I think what it is it's something you internalize from your childhood, throughout your childhood. And it's kind of like when you're taught that you should be strong from birth up until you reach adulthood, you kind of just, you just internalize that and you think, I'm meant to be so strong that I don't deserve to share my feelings with other people, even when I'm not strong. And then you just kind of get used to it, to the point where you just don't know how to stop and, tell someone that, oh yeah, I'm not feeling too good. Oh yeah, I feel sad. Oh yeah, I feel depressed. And you could even you could be surrounded by people that like really love you and care about you, but it's like, honestly, if you don't feel like you deserve to be cared for, you just won't tell people, ask people to care for you. And I feel like it's that simple. And I don't know, maybe the solution is just to kind of encourage people to open up. But sometimes if someone doesn't want to open up, if a Black woman doesn't want to open up, it's, I don't know, maybe it's just like baby steps. It's a baby step situation. I don't know.
Just to add to what you're saying, I think for some people it doesn't really come down to if they deserve the help or not. I think for some people they know that they deserve the help, but they're still scared to ask for it because since they've already adopted the role of the strong person, that they're scared to be seen as anything less than that because it might diminish like their respect. Maybe I think that's what it comes down to for some people. I think. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we're always at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to respect in society anyway. I mean, not only are we females aren't really respected, but we're also Black. So maybe just holding on to the fact that we're stronger than everyone else is what like keeps us going. So if we do ask for help, it's like people will, it just, I don't know, I think for some people they might just like, I don't know what the word is. It might just I don't know.
Okay, Paula, I get what you're saying. I feel like you're talking about vulnerability. Like, I think when you are like always strong, it's really, really hard to be vulnerable. When you put yourself in a vulnerable situation, it's like you open up to people, and sometimes you don't want people to like know your problem, even though you need help. And sometimes you have to be vulnerable to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think more Black women need to realize that once you share when you start sharing with people, you feel a million times better.
Especially because more often than not, they are experiencing the same thing.
Exactly.
And they'll be like, oh yeah, I felt that too. Oh yeah, I went through that as well. And you'll be like, oh, okay, wait, so I was not alone. You know, there are other people going through the same thing.
And it helps our brains, like our mental health, to just be a bit more better. And it helps us, and I hope that for the future generation and for the few years to come, more Black women start to talk about, you don't have to do it publicly, but even just speak to your housemate or speak to your mom or your dad. Because I know some people, when it comes to relationship with their parents, it's not really like that. They don't really talk about their issues. I think it's just really, it's healthy, just even if you don't, because with some people, some parents, you can't change it. Even if you speak to a professional, that's like the last resort. NHS, their waiting list is long for like counselors, but even if you can afford a private, just anyone to speak to, it's just a lot more easier just to get that burden off your chest, and then you'll be able to face the future. So
yeah, I think it's like really important that Black women like prioritize themselves and their mental health and just like their health in general, because I feel like we often, or me personally, like forget that and always trying to like fix, like help other people and do this and do that and address all our other like responsibilities, but then we like not fail, but like forget to like look within ourselves and be like, okay, maybe I need to focus on myself, give myself time to like, you know, readjust and, you know, do stuff like that. Because I feel like the concept personally for me of asking for help wasn't something I even considered until like a year ago. Like it just wasn't something that I would even think about. And then the time when I did ask for help, I only asked for help because the state I was in, I had exams to do and I wasn't in a state to like do exams. So I was like, okay, I need to sort myself out so I can do the exams. It was always like, I need to do this. You know, I have stuff to do. I have responsibilities. I have this. And I was never like, okay, let me actually like stop and like care about myself. And I feel like that's the message that needs to be like spread. Of course, like anyone, to be fair, but I feel like especially Black women, to just stop and like put yourself first always is something that I feel like needs to be shared.
Sorry, can I just add on to that and say like yeah, in general, like Black women are just sort of, we just have to put everything first, everybody else first. We have to put Black men first, we have to put other women first. Our what's it called, our like, Jesus, I forgot the word, struggles. Our struggles are like always on the back burner. So for instance, like with the whole police brutality thing, look how people were riding out for George Floyd and Ahmaud, and when it came to Breonna, everyone was sort of silent. And it's just like we can't sort of run, we can't run the whole thing and then not even be acknowledged that when it's our turn to face problems, you know. It's really, really kind of frustrating. I think it's particularly because, I mean, fair enough, for like feminism and stuff were never even considered anyway, which is never like the main interest anyway. But when it comes to like the Black community, it is a bit
feminism. Yeah.
Sorry?
I just said like that's even another topic we can like discuss maybe another time, like white women and black women and white feminism, because there's this theory that it's a bit ridiculous, but for feminists, that the white feminist movement in the 60s was used to distract the civil rights movement. That's what I heard. I just read it somewhere. I was a bit like, huh? I was like, it's a spicy topic, but someone said that because I read it like, that's really clever. Like obviously I don't know where I stand because it was a new thing, but people think that white feminism was used to distract from the whole civil rights thing. And I was like, that's not really, because feminism is equality for all. But I thought,
no, I don't
know about that one, but yeah, it sounds interesting to talk about.
But you know, feminism has never been for anybody but white
rich white women.
That's privileged women. That's it.
Yeah. But what was I saying? I've forgotten it all. But yeah, I was just saying, like, it's just annoying how Black women just have to, everything we do is, it has to come second. Like, it's just so annoying. Like, for instance, like, say, like, because obviously a lot of Black women are like, actually, no, we're not going to cape for Black men. It's not every day. Fucking like fly the cape or whatever. And it's like, you know, they'd get like backlash for it because like, oh, you're not putting the community first, you know, you're being selfish. But when Black men do it, I mean, and I'm slating, I mean, to be fair, I always slate Black men, but it's like when Black men get, like, basically my point is Black women don't get to be selfish, especially in the Black community. That's my main point. Because when Black men do all manner of shit and when they do whatever, it's okay. But when we do it, it's like, oh, she's a coon, or oh, she does this, or oh, you know, she's you know, just wild shit like that. So yeah, that's just my point.
I think
just to add on to that, even when it comes to dating, for example, whenever Black guys are dating white girls, we don't even say anything about it. It's like, cool, do your thing, whatever. But then when a lot of Black guys see Black girls with white men, the eyes will be giving you like you've committed a sin.
Betrayed.
It's like
how that logic comes from. It's very odd. I was thinking about that same thing when I was brushing my teeth last night. I was like, why is it like that? I know, just because some random thoughts come when I'm brushing my teeth, and I was like, why do Black men? Why is it when? Because someone said that. I was thinking, why is it not the same standard? Black men, they'll see us sticking. It's because the things that most Black men, their intentions aren't different. Their intention is because I hate Black women. I don't want any kids with black skin or wide nose. I don't want any tough hair. But meanwhile, most Black women, they date outside the race just because they've happened to fall in love with that person. They weren't actively going out there prowling for white men or prowling for men.
Prowling.
They just happened to fall in love. They just happened to connect with them. That's something certain Black men need to get.
All right, guys. I feel like on that note, we need to bring this topic to a close. I feel like everyone has a lot to say, but we don't have much time, and we have another topic to kind of get into. So yeah, again, if everyone enjoyed this, we can definitely kind of create a whole session dedicated to the strong Black woman trope. But for now, we're going to move on to the next topic, which is
why there's division within Black women ourselves. Because I don't have any kind of like slide like thing that those two have done. I don't have that. I just kind of wrote some notes. I just want to talk about why within us there's division within Black women, and how we can resolve it. So basically, Black girls, we're not homogenous. We're not all the same. We're all very, very different. But I was thinking to myself, because I live in an area that's predominantly white, and if I come into contact with a Black person that's from London, some of them, they tend to have this kind of them us mentality, and it's a bit odd. And I just wanted to ask you guys, like, why do you feel like, why is some kind of competition and some kind of invisible wall between us, between Black girls from Manchester, Black girls from London, Black girls from Bristol? Why is there some kind of competition? Does anyone have an idea?
I would say, I think that if we were, to be honest, we can link it back to Black boys. Even Black boys themselves pit us against each other, where we feel like we have to be better than each other to get the love from these Black boys. I think that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah. I mean, why do we always have to feel the need to compare ourselves as well? Is it a thing where, do you think just growing pains, or do you think it's more entrenched in the roots of racism, where we have to, I can link into colorism as well, but I don't really include that, but we can talk about that too.
I was going to say this. I remember during the Black Lives Matter movement, I kind of learned that even during slavery, I think more of colorism in that sense, of the fact that I think Black women were compared to a paper bag. So it was like the lighter skinned women were allowed to work in the house, whilst the darker skinned women obviously were forced to work outside. So when you say, because I've never actually, I don't know, for me personally, I've never had that experience of sort of if I meet a Black girl from London and I feel that sort of war, but I think it's more mainly concerning the race of that person. So like if I see a light, lighter skinned women seeing the darker skinned women. I don't know if there's like that sort of internalized competition between darker and lighter rather than whether the different areas, if that makes sense.
I think with different areas, we could use the example of, like countries in Nigeria. Jesus, countries in Nigeria. Wow. Countries do you understand? Like, for example, Congolese women versus Nigerian women. There was a whole thing. If anyone remembers, there was a whole waistline problem on Twitter about the Congolese versus Nigerian. Now, I'm Nigerian. However, we need to like calm down a little bit. Let's not let's not look let's not look for what's not looking for us. English is not my first language, guys. It is. Do you understand? Like, I feel like in that kind of sense, that kind of countries against countries, like why does it seem like, for example, as a Nigerian, sometimes we have a superior outlook on life. Yes. It's a complex.
The Nigerians are the best people.
We're just acting how we're meant to be, really.
Yeah, what can we say? Sorry. Here we go again. But like, is that kind of thing? Like, why do we seem like when people are like, oh, you know what? I'm going to marry a Nigerian girl, or I'm going to marry, a Ghanaian girl. Like, what's that about? We're all black in it, don't we? We pretty much nearly look the same. Okay, no, we don't. But do you understand that kind of thing?
Even a wider thing, they'll pit African girls against Caribbean girls. They'll say Caribbean girls are the best, they can do this. Nigerian girls are too loud, Congolese girls are too loud, they're too opinionated. Why? We're all black at the end of the day. Why is it-
Even within Nigeria, they would still pit tribes against each other, like Yoruba girls, Igbo girls, Hausa girls. It's crazy.
So people will be like, Igbo check, all my Igbo babes, drop your pics. And you're just there like, I'm Yoruba, so I'll just be there like, right, okay. You'll see white girls saying, okay, all British babes, drop your pics. You don't see any of that. It's very odd. It's just more division because people look at themselves like, because I'm this nationality, I'm not as beautiful as this other black girl, or because I'm not from Barbados and I'm from Nigeria, well, I'm not as exotic because black men don't find me as exotic. Meanwhile, we're all the same. White people look at us, they wouldn't even see any of that. They'll see us as all the same.
Yeah.
And it's something that needs to be solved.
The central theme here is men. It's men that kind of create these. I feel like that's it. It's men and patriarchy and all of that. Hit women against each other.
Yeah, I think so, but I think the main, obviously, I mean, Jumoke already has said it. My accent just came out. Sorry. Jumoke said it in the, like, she did mention the colorism thing. I think the main divider is colorism, which is not, because I think diaspora wars are obviously they're obviously quite not difficult. What's the word? Bad. They're obviously awful and stuff. But I think colorism is the main divider between Black women. Like we don't even need to digress. We all know how light-skinned and mixed race girls get treated better than the rest of us and all of that. But yeah, I think that's the main divider. And coming back to I know you asked, I can't remember which one of you it was, sorry, who asked the question about why in the UK we divide ourselves like by where you're from. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I don't know, because I'm from Birmingham, right? So it might fuck off. Birmingham is actually a normal place to be from. Look at the shit I get in my own house. But yeah, I was just gonna say, like, in my opinion anyway, any like London girls that I've met, they always move hella stush. I don't know why that is, but
I thought as well. Yeah. In Kent, which is actually an hour from London.
Sorry?
I live in an hour from London, but I still feel like that divides. Like they'll be like, Kent.
Very true. I will tell you, because even me being from London, I would say I'm not your typical, what is a typical Black girl, but I'm not your typical Black girl. So they even divide it there, like, if you don't act like us, if you don't look like us, if you don't dress like us, whatever, separate. Basically, London girls are the mean girls. I can't even lie.
For real.
Manchester girls
all the way.
Yeah. I feel like the Manchester, I know it's a bit ignorant, but when I used to live in Dublin, I didn't realize that 6 years ago, I didn't realize that there were Black people. I was like, Manchester, Black people, Manchester. And I know it sounds a bit odd. I'm sorry, Fav, I know you're a Manchester, you're a Manny babe. So when I came to this uni and I'm Manchester, I was like, this is lovely. Like, I got London babes. A lot of them, they all have their clique together in uni. They don't really.
I think it's because in London the culture is very, very kind of hostile. Obviously, I'm not from London, but I think the culture is very hostile in London. I think you have to like meet the standard, especially as a girl, a black girl. So to the point where if you don't meet the standard, you're just not.
I think black girls in London also, it's like when they grew out of London, I think it's just because familiarity in that sense, because I feel like, I don't know how it is in other places, but with London, like just the way London is living wise, I feel like I don't know how to put it.
For me, London is like its own country in the UK. It's kind of like, when you're from a certain country, when you meet people from your country, most people, you're like, oh my God, hi, and you seem to vibe. For me, London is like that. It's its own country in the UK. It's not a city, it's a country. And, they have their own kind of culture compared to the UK culture. And I think that's why, there's that whole clique thing in between Londoners.
I agree.
Can I just add? I think that as well, but I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking like maybe they think they're more than the rest of us, because I think because obviously London is hella what's it called, diverse and stuff, and so I don't know when they see. I mean, Birmingham is really not that bad. It's like one of the more diverse places. But even when they look at girls from like say Maidstone or Manchester or Bristol or wherever, it's like because obviously it's not as diverse, so maybe you'd have a bit more white friends, or not as black in their, I don't know, their blackness scale or whatever, because maybe you just don't have that London vibe or whatever, and so they're just like you're like just a fucking coon or something. I don't know, they just think that you're not a fucking human being at that point. But yeah.
You're people who listen to because not all black people like listening to rap. Some of us like listening to indie music. Even if you listen to indie music, listen to, I don't know, for some people who like to listen to emo, they'll look at them like that's horrible. Meanwhile, for white people, they won't have. I don't know about white people, but it's not really common to have that kind of mentality. Why can't we be different?
Because they don't need to feel insecure about their race. It's never oh, am I white enough? When will they ever have that?
That's true.
I think part of that is the whole, like, you have white people are really diverse, and then there's black people all kind of lumped together in this one kind of category. And as a black person, you just have to be a black person. You can't be a black person that likes this and that likes that and likes all of this kind of stuff. You're just black. And so when you don't fit these kind of criteria, you're just, I don't know, you're just left out. And then that's how these divisions are created. Everyone has to be black, but there's no way to be black. There's no one way to be a black girl. I think, yeah.
I think that's
I feel like, sorry, I just want to say, I feel like society is like very good at like stereotyping black people to be a certain way, like, oh, you have to like basketball, like rap music, or like this, and then like you're black. And it's like this weird thing where like sometimes white people feel like they can opt in and out of black culture as well. Like I feel like that's a whole other discussion. Like sometimes like we were talking about before, like, oh, like, yeah, oh, you're so black, like, but like, no, you're white, do you get what I mean? So I feel like sometimes like society creates like, or like stereotypes us into like this narrow box of being like, oh, this is what being black is, and like it's this tiny little box, and then some people might internalize that and think, oh, that is the way to be black, when actually you can be black by being black.
Yeah, and even at school, when you don't fit those wait, what's it called? When you don't I don't remember the word, but when you don't fit a stereotype, when you don't fit those stereotypes, they would call you coconut or Oreos. Yeah, just any sort of food item that's brown on the outside and then white on the inside.
Fuck up so many fucking times, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like for me in school, someone would just come up to me and start singing rap lyrics to me, and I'll just be like, I look at them like, you can't be serious. Are you serious? This is very ignorant behavior. I mean, obviously I blame them, but it's all down to ignorance as well. And the fact that they haven't come in contact with other black people. I know this topic we're focusing on within black people, but I think the whole white people thing kind of comes into it as well and creates more division. But they'll come to me and school, like, they'll sing rap music to me. They'll say, can you twerk? Can you whine? Can you do your waist? I'm just like, what? I don't know what that is, okay? I'm just here. I think it's just very problematic that not all black girls know how to dance. Not all of us know how to shaka shaka. Not all of us know how to.
Do you know what? When I came to uni, I feel like growing up in a white area, a lot of the black culture I kind of learned about came through social media. So that's how I access Black culture, especially Black British culture. So coming to uni, I just kind of introduced to Black culture. I didn't know. And then you'll be like, oh, you can't do this. You don't know this dance. I'm like, no, I don't, because back home we sang Mr. Brightside and all them songs. Do you know what I mean? And here, you know, it's completely different because like. And I feel like sometimes it makes you feel like you were left out because Black British people in London are doing all of this, and then everyone else is just kind of doing their own thing.
And they bring their culture to the universities. Like CMU and Coventry, a lot of them bring their culture to these spaces. And if you don't fit this space, like Coventry is its own city. If you don't fit this space, then you're not Black at all. Go over to white. We'll pass you on to white people, and it's very odd. It's going to take a lot of time to break down and a lot of communication, but I don't know how I'm going with this, but
no, it boils down to the fact that we think there's one way to be Black or one way to be a Black girl, and we don't realize that there is no such thing as like a Black girl, the like standard Black girl. And I think trying to force everyone to fit one kind of category is really damaging because it makes us more divided. When we understand that everyone is different, all Black girls are different, we all like different types of music, wear different types of clothes, listen to different, do different things, right? That's when we can kind of unite in our sense of difference. But thinking that everyone is the same, we all dress the same, we don't. And I feel like that makes it more hostile. That makes it more kind of divisive.
Yeah. Because some of us don't like getting our nails done every month. Some of us just like to wigs because we want to. Some of us are trying to grow our hair out. Some of us aren't really. Some of us like our natural hair. Not every one of us are insecure, and the ones that are insecure are trying to build their confidence.
The thing is, it's okay to wear wigs though. It's okay to wear wigs. It's okay to get your hair done. That's fine if you like that. But I think we just need to understand that not everyone likes the same thing. Because I think wigs are nice. Get your nails done is nice. But I just don't think we should expect everyone to do all of that all the time. So
I feel like Black culture, media has very much put in what Black identity is now in terms of how we act or like how we dress or whatever. Because a lot of the time, the way we see things is through trends, even through like Black celebrities or just like influencers like Nella Rose, like things like that just set what we say, what we do, how we act, whatever. You get what I mean? So even like it's very embarrassing.
Like from Nella Rose, you know her friend Musa is from Surrey, and she comes like her voice is not like proper London, like it's more like, as some people call it, white voice, and a lot of people were attacking her on social media. Why are you trying to be white? Why are you doing this? It's because she doesn't fit that stereotype of what a Black girl should sound like. And it was very confusing for me because I don't know why it happened. I think it just goes back to our own like internal division between us. That because she's not worthy to hang out with Nella Rose, she's not worthy to hang out with the Patrons because she doesn't have this. She doesn't sound like them. Her demeanor isn't like them, which isn't bad, but I think it's really, really toxic between us. I think it's because it's kind of like one of the first times on social media where there was an influencer that doesn't originate from London and doesn't sound London-ish. Yeah. And people were a bit taken aback and they reacted in a negative, toxic way. Because I feel like something that gaslights a lot of these divisions are these shade pages. They like to gaslight a lot of Black women. And it's not acceptable.
Yeah. People are always ready to criticize Black influencers or Black women in general, especially the ones that in the public eye. Even Megan Thee Stallion, when she got shot, weren't people still like throwing shade at her and saying awful things about her on social media?
And then these same people go stream Tory Lanez album. Piss off. Like when she says something, you instantly want to be like, "Oh, that's not true," or this. But when the facts are there, that people still want to deny that Black women can be hurt, Black women can, you know what, feel a certain way, or like we don't always have to be strong. Going back to that trope thing,
I think that the funny thing about that situation for me was the fact that at the very beginning of that thing, she didn't tell anyone it was Tory Lanez. She made sure it was like, you know, on a low, because she knew that you know, he could get into, if it was on site with the police, it was on site, and we would, in fact, everyone be doing her RIP, you know, love and hope, rest in peace, yeah, forever loved, all of that rubbish. Do you understand? Like, if she had said it was Tory Lanez, and it comes to the idea of that strong women, that why do we have to protect the Black men when they can't even protect us at the end of the day? And it's about, yeah, we have to protect ourselves. And to protect ourselves, that's the importance of us being a community of Black women, that we have to stand strong together so that we can stand against, you know, everyone else.
That's it. That's it. I think there's a statement called "burn the cape," because there's this thing where Black men need to stop caping for Black men, because you see it everywhere, even in person, where Black men will just be saying the most unprovoked things. There was this thing in my uni where this voice said out of nowhere, "I only like white girls." Out of nowhere, and you just stand there like, what just happened? You just think to yourself like, that's very weird, and that just gaslights us even more. Or they'll say only like light-skinned girls, then there'll be more divisions between us, because we'll see a light-skinned girl in our lecture like, oh, and that guy, like, she's probably gonna like her, and it's very silly.
Yeah, and I think it's that the fact that other people kind of instigate these things, but I think we feed into them as well. So it's like people tell us, yeah, you guys, you should divide, and then instead of us kind of remaining united, we actually divide because someone else told us to divide. And like, the fact is that we can't actually divide, because if we divide, who else do we have? When men don't rate us, white people don't rate us, we actually don't have anyone else. So I think we need to stop feeding into some of that stuff and actually kind of just realize that by the end of the day, we're all we have, which is really sad, but it's true.
I think it's good to acknowledge there's still some Black men out there and still some white men out there that understand the issues. There's a majority of them that shouldn't even be existing, that there shouldn't be a majority of them not supporting us. Because if we compare it to another race, white men will protect their white women till the day they die. But Black men will just some of them just kick us in the bucket like, I don't care. And it's just a bit, it's very sad. And this goes back to, again, like slavery and stuff. Yeah.
So any ending final points?
Anybody else has anything else to say to just release the universe concerning?
Wait, I just wanted to ask, what would you say the majority of your friends are, like non-Londoners?
All my friends are not, like, obviously the friends I made in uni, it's funny because all of them are from the West Midlands. I don't have any London.
I'm from East Midlands, baby.
She's from East. I'm from East Midlands. She's from Loughborough.
Honey.
But at home, obviously, all my friends are from Kent. But I don't really have any London friends because I haven't interacted with them that much during freshers. I'll see them and I'll just be like, oh, hi, and that's it.
Right.
Most I've been friends with are from outside London because me personally, I can't really relate to it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I used to live in London and then I moved to Wolverhampton. You know, when you guys were talking about all your London stuff, I was like, yeah, I get that, but I also get the other side as well. Like when Effie was saying about how like London
Huh? I said Effie's Mac is she's probably going yeah.
Oh no, it's not Effie, it's Jerry. Whoa. Sorry. When Jerry was talking about how like Londoners are kind of like a certain type of way, I agree with that so much. I feel like they grow up in a certain type of culture. Sometimes it is a bit toxic. Like if you see the way London girls dress, it's very much the same. Like everyone is the same. But when you come to like outside of London, I think you guys are just, because you grew up with, that's generalizing, but like because most people that don't live in London, their environment isn't as like Black filled. So it's kind of like, who are you trying to be the same with? Like you're allowed to develop yourself. Like that's one thing I noticed when I meet people from London, they have their own style. I feel like I'm talking bad about London people, but like they have their own style. And they're also very friendly. That's another thing I was saying, how you were saying how non-Londoners are very friendly. They are. Londoners can be very hostile, but I don't know, maybe it's just the atmosphere there or the air or something.
I think it's for all Londoners, white and Black. I feel like most of them can just be a bit, it's just the culture there. Like another city, like in New York, there's a stereotype where this thing where everyone in New York is really horrible and mean. But when I went to New York, there were a lot of lovely Americans, a lot of lovely people. So maybe it's the same with London, that there are a lot of still pockets of lovely people there. But it's just a thing where, and the people, the London people I've come across are lovely, but it's not a thing where I'll be able to vibe with them.
Because it's different though. I feel like your culture is different. Like how you will have experiences how you've grown up in a mostly white school, like experiences you've had. Sometimes they don't relate to it. Do you get what I mean? So maybe that's why.
No, I agree with that. So, like for the most part, because me personally, my school was mainly Asian people, or like yeah. So I didn't really have that many issues regarding like that sense, but there was still like subtle racism or like things like that, and also saying with London people, yeah, there is that, but there's still like pockets, as you said, there's pockets of people like me. I found a lot of black people who I could vibe with, regardless of any of that. Like, because even my best friend, I would say she is, or my childhood best friend, yeah, she's one of those typical black girls, if you want to put it like that. So I would say even if I were to meet her now, we may not have been. You know what I mean? But it's just like it's personal things. I feel like even though we grew up in the same area, we met different people, and it's also like institutions that who you meet during those periods of time really influence it. And I feel like when you consider where like most of the London people go to school, like in terms of schools because of like culture differences, that was also like a thing.
I think it's about being more open to just like getting to know people. Yeah, you might be from London, someone else might be from Manchester or Birmingham or Leicester, but you just have to be more open. Like there are certain things people from London can teach me that I never knew about, or like certain things someone from Birmingham can teach me. And I think we just have to be more open to just getting to know each other and learning from each other as well.
Yeah. It's not really those type of London people who have that kind of attitude, because there's still London people who are still really, really lovely, but the ones who don't have that attitude, I think it's just difficult for them to try and open up, because it's not a nature, it's not in their character, their personality. It's not until they get to the job market then they have to be forced to open up.
Yeah, I feel like
firstly they didn't want to, but when they get to the real world, you see a lot of different people, and you have to just try and get to know them.
I feel like black people outside of London are definitely more open. Maybe I'm just
Friendly as well.
getting to know more people because maybe there's less black people there or whatever. But then,
yeah, I was gonna say someone from Manchester. I rep Manchester like 24/7. I actually don't care. But like going into uni, it wasn't about making friends from, oh my gosh, I want to make friends from Manchester or I want to make friends from London. My mindset was I want to make black friends. I really didn't care where they came from. And I think that can be highlighted as one of the differences between someone from London, someone from Manchester, for example. Like Jerry's from London. Most of the people in this house have, like in my house right now, have actually lived in London or live in London. So I think I'm the only one from outside London, apart from one of the internationals who's staying here. So for me, it wasn't to do with, oh my gosh, where are they from? Obviously, it's interesting to know where people are from. I'm always going to ask, where did you live? I don't have a clue when people talk about east, west, north, south, middle. I don't understand none of that. But it's interesting to learn that.
I don't even understand.
I think on the ECF, like last year when we were first years in September, to try and start a conversation, someone will just randomly say, as if everyone in the group chat's from London. Oh, where parts of London are you from? I was there in the house to make sure, like, someone was like, yeah, I'm from North, Tottenham, Enfield. Yeah, I was like, what is this? And then I started to do that. I feel like I'm the only one from outside London. I'm just there in my house and made some like, hey. Like, it's a very
like when they met up as well. And I was like, oh.
I felt so left out. I was like, where's my invite?
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, link up in Piccadilly, Oxford Circus. I'm like, where? I think that's something that maybe these other black societies need to improve on, try and integrate other people. And someone in the chat asked, is there going to be a link up in Manchester? And they were like, sorry, we don't know. You guys have to start yourself. Yeah. I'm from Bromley. Oh no, I'm from South. Oh yeah, South is dead. All of us from South, we just be like, what's the difference? It's all London. Exactly. But if someone there says I'm from Birmingham, there'll probably be crickets like, sorry for you. And it's very attitude that yeah, we have a friend from Birmingham and people are it's okay. People from London like that accent
Like, oh, Birmingham used to be bombed. So when I came here, I was like, this accent isn't even that bad. I even like it. When my friends I like hearing her speak because it's a very nice accent.
They do long.
Thank you so much. We actually sound every day Birmingham, every day. Go to Liverpool and see how they sound.
The media is saturated with London people. They're represented everywhere. We need more. That's why all these artists like H. Some people may not rate H, but at least we're seeing some kind of rapper from, even though he's white. This is
the man.
He's from outside. Or Bugsy Malone. He's from Manchester. We need more of these people because it's not all about London.
Anyway,
sorry.
Yeah. I think so. Final points, I guess. What did we take from? Okay, let me just close the thing up. All right, cool. So today, guys, we kind of just talked about 3 different topics. Talked about hair, the strong Black woman trope, and kind of the divisions between Black women. I feel like everyone had a lot to say about each of those topics, and that it's a shame we didn't have longer to kind of discuss each one. But I feel like we all I learned a lot today. I took it away from it, and it's interesting to hear things from different people's perspectives as well. So yeah, kind of just keep an eye out for events we host in future. As we kind of progress through the year, we'll host more discussion nights, and we'll have one specific topic so we can just talk about that all for the whole time. And yeah, that's kind of it. If you've not been added to the group chat, or if you've not joined the group chat, definitely join. I think so. I saw someone share it in the chat box.
In the chat box now.
Yeah, so join the group chat if you haven't already. And I hope everyone enjoyed today.
And I hope the restrictions as well just come down a bit. So one day we can have like a socially distant, maybe in like a small lecture theatre, like a socially distant get together.
Also, I put a resource list. I made a resource list I put on the group chat as well. So yeah.
Okay.
So basically articles, books, videos, documentaries of basically the topics that we talked today. So if you want to check that out as well.
Yes. Cool. So I guess just follow us on social media. We've got Instagram page and Twitter if you use Twitter, and just kind of keep up with what we share, the events we host, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're here for you, and as long as you participate, all of our events will be sick. And so yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to say. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put on the group chat. I'm gonna put a survey just about this discussion we've had, because obviously we're here, we want to become better as a society, we want to hear the voices of everyone. So please, can you just fill out the survey? It's just gonna ask how well you think today went, like this event, what you think could have, like, you want to hear next time and stuff like that. It really shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, and I don't expect you guys to be doing like an essay on it. Just bullet points or whatever. Just fill it out, please. Thank you.
Cool. So
I hope everyone enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, that's kind of the main that was the main thing. Yeah, so I hope everyone enjoyed themselves, and we hope you keep interacting with us, because this was really good. I'm really kind of glad that everyone interacted. So yeah, just keep interacting with us, and like all of the events will be good from now on. And obviously we had some good events as well in the past. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for coming. I'm going to end the session now. Bye everyone.